You're listening to The Builder's Mindset with Mike DiGiovanni, presented by Amazing Mindsets.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Builder's Mindset. Welcome to Amazing Mindset Studios. I think going forward, we're either going to be here or we're going to be in Tesla Studios. I actually got an interesting comment from somebody about a post I did. They appreciated that I did my recording in the solitude of my car. Well, when you own a Tesla, you have to charge every once in a while. It takes like 30 to 40 minutes. So you try to multitask, figure out what you can do at the same time. But anyway, today's episode, we're going to talk about determining your budget for your direct costs. And there's a few ways you can do this, and I'm going to take a break from beating the product development drum just for an episode. I'll come back to it because that's my thing. That's my jam. If you haven't figured that out yet, product development is most important. But let's go into it. Let's leave product development aside for a minute, and let's just talk about how you determine your budget for your direct costs for your development project. And look, my mindset for this comes from the aspect of I'm going to build this, right? Like I'm the builder who's going to build this. And then I'm also going to come from the mindset of we're the builder who's going to buy the land, finish the lots, and build the product. And we can go into different tracks of like how that can be chunked up and whatnot. But that's the mindset we're going to take. That I can think of, there are three ways that you can do this. And in my opinion, only one of them is really the best way. You can only have like the best, like, right? So I wouldn't say there's only one that's the right way, but there is one that I feel is definitely wrong. One that I feel is kind of okay, but I don't agree with it. It's not my preferred method by any stretch. And then there's what I consider the right way. If there's another way, whether you think it's wrong or right or better, I'd love to hear it because so we're just going to cover today the three that I know of how do you determine your direct cost budget, right? So you're a builder and you're going to go buy a piece of dirt and you got to run a pro forma to figure out if it makes sense. Like, right, if you look at it, and this will help you, what do you got to pay for the land? What's the seller charging for the land? Look, at the end of the day, you're going to make like 2%. It doesn't make sense. And there's a variety of reasons why it might not make sense. And it's not always land or the land price, but end of the day, we talked about in last week's episode, double-digit net margins. So at the end of the day, whatever your setup is that's going to tie to your gross margin target, 20 to 25%, you're probably, maybe 18 to 25, let's say, somewhere in that neighborhood, depending upon how you run your business, how lean you are. But whatever that is, typically you're going to be shooting for this target. And some builders also look at like IRR, initial rate of return. Some will look at ROE, return on equity. But we're just going to keep it simple, in my opinion. I am not an HP calculator finance guy. We've talked about that. Like I've got either my phone, and my phone has two settings, like dumb calculator or scientific, and that's it. Like I'm an old school engineer brain type. So let's talk about the three ways that you can determine your direct cost budgets. Well, let's start out with the one that I consider wrong. I'll flip it around. Like the one that it's the wrong way to do it, in my opinion. And that's what I call the see what's left method. What do I mean by that? Well, here's the land cost. Here's what I'm pretty sure the development cost average for the last 5 projects are on a per lot basis of a typical size lot, typical size project. What are our fees in that municipality? And then what is our desired margin? We talked about that. You put that in there, and what do we think we could sell these homes for? And you plug all that in. It's algebra, right? Like at the end of the day, you have all these variables, and basic algebra 1. You do all this math. If you know everything except for one, so you can. It's the see what's left method, and I say it's wrong, but let me just be honest. I've seen it a bunch. I've literally seen it a bunch. I've seen a pro forma come purchasing's not even in the room when they're talking about whether or not this is a good project or a bad project or whatever. And then a lot of times they don't even have product, or they either don't have product yet, or the product is designed, and they just go to purchasing and they go, here you go. You got $47.25 a square foot to build this product. That's, like I said, see what's left. That's the see what's left method. And that is the method I think it's just wrong. It happens still to this day, but it's wrong. Okay? If you're doing that, please stop. Okay. The second way you can determine your direct cost budget. This is what I call out the let's go. We'll call it the let's go fish. Okay, what do I mean by that? We're going to take preliminary plans, which is usually what they have. Like you have preliminary plans. They're usually either first plan check or not even first plan check. You've got some set of plans that you are given. This often happens when the project is coming with a set of plans. And so you take those plans, you throw them out real quick to your trusted trade partners, and you say, I need a number in 2 days. I need a budget number in 2 days. Okay. Usually it's not 2 days, but it's often a week or 10 days. And if we talk about, you go back to the bid cycle and running a proper bid schedule, to get a trade to really give you a good effective bid, you want to give the 2 to 4 weeks. Easy ones, 2 weeks, maybe 1 week, but really let's everything's got to run off timeline. And the ones that are the biggest dollar value guys, the framers, concrete guys, lumber, mechanicals, they need 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, so we're going to rush them. And what do you think happens when you rush? Okay, so there's two things why I know a lot of people still do this. It's not like completely wrong, but there's two main reasons why I don't like this method. It's not my preferred method. Number one, when we rush trades, what are they going to do? They're going to raise those numbers up a bit because they're going to cover their butts, right? Because they're going to they're going to give it to you. You might hold them to it, right? So they're going to push them up. Well, you say, well, that's wrong and that's okay. So that's one thing. They're going to push their numbers up if you rush them a little bit. And number two, the other reason I don't like this is because now they've basically established the answers to the test. Okay. So let's talk about those two things. If they push their numbers up, okay, if they push the numbers up, that's one problem, or they have the answers to the test now, right? So let's break that down in terms of why those are issues and why this is not my preferred method. If they push the numbers up because we don't give them enough time and they're trying to put fudge in there to make sure that they've got enough in there, there's two problems that come out of this. Number one, obviously, this is going to be an inflated number that in the event you get the project, I guarantee you're going to pay too much. You're going to pay more than what you should be for that, and you're going to put your margins in jeopardy. You're going to compress your margins before you've even bought the land. That's number one problem with pushing the numbers up because they don't have enough time to really ascertain these plans. And number two, the other problem with pushing the numbers up is kind of the bigger thing that we think about, I think it's somebody who said the best deal I ever did was the best deal ever is the one I didn't do. I get that, but if you push the numbers up, if your trades push numbers up because you don't give them enough time, and now let's say they're telling you it's $5, $6, $7, $8, $10 more in total from all the trades, a little bit added to it, maybe you don't do the deal. Maybe it would have been a good deal, but now you don't even do it. You pass on it as a builder, and you don't have the opportunity. And now your competitor, who's operating a little bit better than you, gets that deal, and you don't have that as a part of your, your community count for the, in the next couple of years. Okay, so that's my two problems with pushing the number up. One, they're going to inflate the number, and that inflated number is going to either mean you're going to pay more or you might lose the deal. Okay. Second thing is that inflated number. I said, now they have the answers to the test. If you get the deal and you're going to pay more, that's where them having the answers to the test is a problem, because they've now given you a budget. You bought the job. Well, they know that number's good. So if you rush them, they give you an inflated number, but then you go buy the job. The answer to the test for me, if I'm a trade partner, is, well, the number I gave you is good. And then when I start to really dig into it as a trade partner, we can go into this on the whole other end of things. Hopefully the trade partner, from their perspective, has given you a number. Now when they look at the real bid, they put the real bid together, they're like, whoa, man, look at that margin. And you feel good about it because it's as good or better. Or what some of the savvy trade partners will then do is, if they give you an inflated number, whether they realize it or not, this is not nefarious, but like we're rushing them. They give you an inflated number and then you buy the deal. Now they know that budget number is good. So now they go and really do the takeoff because hopefully you're giving them a good window of time, like 3 to 4 weeks to actually do the bid. Now let's say they come in and they go, oh man, like the real number is 5% lower than the number I gave them. Some trade partners will give you that. Some will. Some will give you half of that. And when you get that half, you're happy because they knew the answers to the test and they just gave you a number that's lower than what they gave you originally. Now you beat the budget. Now you look like a hero, but you still left money on the table. Okay? So that's why I am not a big fan of the let's go fishing to the trades with those preliminary plans that we've been given as we're looking at a deal. Okay? So what is, in my opinion, the best way, and I also consider it the right way, is we want to back into that number, aggregate dollar, which we then translate to a cost per square foot. We want to back into that as a percent of revenue. Now, this is all predicated on you need an accurate and reliable revenue number, okay? So I encourage everybody to ask this, even the purchasing folks. Like, you don't have to know what a home, what a 2,500 square foot, 2-story, 5-bedroom, 3-bath house should sell in a certain zip code in Hesperia or Victorville or, Tempe or Queen Creek, or Brighton, Colorado, or, Pflugerville, Texas. As a purchasing person, that's not really your forte. You might kind of have a feel for it to some degree, but somebody on your team, or at least somebody on your team in concert with some outside experts, like a John Burns or a Zonda, somebody can say, like, that zip code, that piece of dirt, the school district that it's in, it should have this product type, and your revenue right now should be this. This is what you should be able to sell those for, okay? So assuming that you have that, and then there's a lot of other assumptions that come. Everybody's got to do their part. So sales and marketing needs to be confident and have good, accurate revenue that you could tie to the pace of sales you're looking to get. Your land development team needs to have good, accurate numbers, estimates of what it's going to take to develop those lots. Are they 4,500, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 square foot lots, and there's 150 of them. So like we've done something like that, so we know, and we're going to do it all in one phasing, or we're going to do 3 phasing. We need to be able to feel confident in our land development numbers, and then at the end of the day, if you're good with that, like the fees are what they are, right? So you can do that research. Now what we have, and this is what a lot of builders do though, they do back into the land cost, right? So now we got to have a good handle on our land cost. And so this is where, in my opinion, land and purchasing need to come together and say, look, we're comfortable in our land development budget numbers. We're comfortable in our revs. So like, where are you going to be at purchasing in terms of cost per foot? We put a number out looking at the plans because we have experience with it, and we're comfortable with that. We know the municipality in terms of like what the architecture is going to look like. And so we kind of work back and forth with the land team, who they're kind of moving around their cost or their offer price with our directs. There's a little bit of a range. Probably you should be somewhere in the like plus or minus $2.50 a foot, maybe 2. And then you back into it from that perspective in concert with backing into the land value. And that's, like, in my opinion, that's ultimately how it should be. Because, like, my dad always said, something's only worth what somebody else is willing to pay for it. So I think we've got to start by getting accurate revenue numbers. And if that's in-house, you've got the in-house expertise, or if you have to go outside, or if it's a combination of the two, I think, which is a lot of builders I'm familiar with do. You got to start with that, with what can I sell this house for? Because that'll also drive your design. and how you design that home? Or is that home that's approved? Because I've seen this before too. Oh, look at that set of plans that's already been shown to the city for this piece of property that we're putting a bid on. And you go, there's no way that plan set in any way, shape, or form is going to get even within plus or minus $2 of where we need to be from a budget perspective. And so you're already upside down. And once the city's got their teeth into a certain design, good luck value engineering that back to what you need it to be. So, so that's how I think we should be determining our budget. I wish more builders were doing it. I've had conversations with lots of builders and worked for some where it's been, essentially we're waiting for the bids to be somewhat finalized on the direct side. And then we put this package together, we send it over to the sales team and we say, hey, based on that, what our margin needs to be, here's what you need to sell them for. What do you think about that? And that's really bad because then you already you own the property typically at that point and you're stuck with it. So that's what I feel like the revs are what they are. I mean, I want good experienced sales teams saying this are the revs based on the pace we want to sell at. And then that's the first number that we kind of back everything out of from there and start plugging everything there. So I think you got to back into it as a percent of revenue, and it should be a team effort. Like I feel like the best performing builders have like a good solid team where you've got a leader at land development, you got a leader at land ac, you've got a leader in purchasing, you got a leader in sales, all kind of like being, kind of guided by the division president in terms of what their strategy is. And they work together as a team, all knowing kind of a bit about their world and how they can flex and fudge it. Sales will say, yeah, I could probably pick up those revs by an average of 20,000, but that's going to drop my sales pace from 5 to 4 most likely. If you're willing to let me drop them 20 grand, I could probably pick up my pace from 3 to 4. Purchasing's looking at it going, hey, if we get any luck with value engineering, like maybe we can, come down $1 or $2 or $3 a foot. Maybe the structural engineer's not been picked to say, hey, if we can work with this guy, this company over here, that'll help us, put that team together. Maybe we can come down a little bit. Or, that architect, they're pretty stuck on their details. And so we're really gonna have a hard time getting our costs any better than this. Development team, same thing. The city, like they got into city requirements in terms of, plan sets, what their knowledge and history is. They got to put their expertise in, and then the land act team, has got to pull all that together and go, well, this is what we need to offer. And I think, right now we're in an interesting time, and we're not going to talk about it on this episode, but we're in an interesting time because first time in my career in home building, I think we're looking at costs going up and revenue staying stable or coming down. So put that in your feather in your cap. But yeah, so that's where it is. So, real quick recap, like there's 3 ways of determining a budget for your direct costs that I know. Once again, it's the see what's left, figure everything else, and then basically, this is what you get purchasing, which I think is horrible planning, bad strategy. The other one is like, let's go fishing. Let's take some preliminary plans that we have for maybe the seller or from our architect and kind of try to ad hoc some sort of budget numbers from our trades. As we talked about, those aren't great because you're probably going to get inflated numbers and you might lose the job because of inflated numbers. And if you get the job, the trades know the answer to the test because they gave you the numbers. And then the best way, in my opinion, is to really back in to it as a percent of revenue, and starting with revenue, right? So a lot of things we talk about as a percent of revenue. So it makes sense that revenue should come first. And there's tons of data out there. So why not start there? And if you're not starting there and you're not sure how to put that schedule together, let's talk. We can help you put that together and get dialed in from that perspective. So there you go. There you have it. How to determine your direct budget. And hope this was helpful. Hope you have an amazing day, and we'll see you next week.
You're listening to The Builder's Mindset with Mike DiGiovanni, presented by Amazing Mindsets.